In the far edges of the Orion expanse, where stars shine cold and distant, there is a large area of space called the Terran zone. This place is silent, dark, and feared by many across the galaxy. For 70 years, no alien ship has entered it. And come back, no one speaks about it openly. But everyone knows something dangerous sleeps inside. The Galactic Council, made of many alien species, controls most parts of space. They meet often in their golden halls, deciding the future of planets, wars, and peace. But whenever the subject of the Terran zone comes up, they go quiet. The old leaders just say, "Leave it alone." And the young ones are told not to ask questions. One day, a young alien diplomat named Alira stood up during a council meeting. She was brave and curious. She said, "Why do we fear this place? We don't even know what's inside. Maybe it holds answers, allies, or old technology." Some leaders nodded slowly, while others looked worried. Still, Alira's voice reached far, and soon the council agreed to send a scout ship to investigate. The ship was called Veltrax. It was small but fast. With some of the best stealth systems, a crew of 30 volunteered for the mission. They were proud and excited, confident that the stories were just myths. The Veltrax crossed the invisible line that marked the edge of Terran space. Then, nothing. 1 hour passed, then 2. The ship didn't return. No signal, no emergency beacon, just silence. The council waited, hoping for a message, but none came after a full day. The ship was declared missing. Panic spread among the council members. Some started arguing, blaming each other. Others said the humans were long gone, and it was just a malfunction, but deep down, everyone felt the same thing: fear. The kind of fear that makes your skin crawl and your mind whisper old warnings. Alira was quiet now, too. She hadn't meant for anyone to get hurt. She just wanted answers. But now she had woken something up, or maybe stepped too close to something that was never meant to be disturbed. A secret message was found in the council's old files. It was over 70 years old, and came from the first and last group of explorers who had entered the Terran zone before. The message only had one sentence, translated from an old human language: "Do not come here. We are watching." That message had been buried for decades, hidden from newer members of the council. Now, as they stared at the words again, the silence of the Terran zone seemed heavier than ever. A debate started. Should they try to make peace with the humans if they were still alive? Or should they send more ships, better armed and prepared this time? Some said the humans had probably died off, and it was just leftover machines guarding old ruins. Others believed the humans had never left, only gone quiet, building something darker behind the silence. But one thing became clear to everyone. In the galaxy, the Terran zone was not empty. It was not forgotten. Something or someone was still there, still watching and still protecting their space from far away in a dark command room hidden deep inside Terran space. A man stood silently. His name was Captain Drew Carter, and his eyes were fixed on a glowing screen. He had seen the Veltrax, seen it cross the line, and watched as the old defense systems responded without mercy. Carter didn't smile. He didn't feel pride. He only felt the weight of duty. Humanity had chosen silence, chosen isolation, but now the galaxy was knocking again. And he knew what would come next. He turned to his crew and spoke 2 words, calm and cold: Protocol Phoenix. And just like that, old machines woke up, hidden satellites blinked to life. And the dark corners of space began to hum with power. Again, the humans were not gone. They were waiting. And the galaxy had just made its first mistake, again, without knowing the cost, far inside the Terran zone. Deep in the darkness between stars, a ship drifted slowly through space. It was huge, an old human battle carrier called Horizon Dawn. Though it looked quiet from outside, it was alive from within. Lights blinked on control panels. Engines hummed. Low-end crew members moved like shadows through metal halls. The man in command was Captain Drew Carter. His face was tired, his beard gray, but his eyes were sharp. He had served in the last war humans fought before they disappeared from the galaxy. That war ended in silence, and since then, Carter had been guarding the Terran zone like a ghost. He was not just a captain, he was the last wall between humanity. And the rest of the galaxy, beside Carter, stood Lieutenant Kara Jennings. Younger than him, but a tactical genius. She was the one who kept the carrier's defense systems ready. Every day, she ran drills with the crew, making sure no one forgot how to fight, even after all these years of silence. They trained as if war would return tomorrow, sir, Kara said, looking at a screen. We've confirmed the signal from that alien scout ship. It was taken out by the Sentinel Greed Automated Defense. Carter nodded slowly. They finally tested us. He said quietly. I knew they would. Around the galaxy, people believed humans had died out. Some thought Earth had been destroyed. Others believed humans evolved into something else and left. But the truth was simple. Humanity had chosen to vanish from the stars after the last war. They were tired of being targets, tired of politics and betrayals. So they built a fortress in space and called it the Terran Zone. And inside it, they waited. That's why the Horizon Dawn still existed. And why many other human ships were hidden all across Terran space. Giant dreadnoughts, battleships, stealth cruisers, Met satellite cannons all lay in silent readiness. Not rusted or abandoned, but fully prepared. An AI named Maxwell ran the core systems of the Horizon Dawn. Maxwell wasn't like other AIs built by aliens. He had emotions, sarcasm, memory, and something that almost felt like a soul. Captain, Maxwell said, if you're activating Protocol Phoenix, may I suggest waking up the Legacy Fleet? Carter looked at the dark monitor showing old human fleet numbers. Not yet, he said. But get them ready in secret hangars spread across space. Hidden behind asteroid belts and cloaking fields, giant ships stirred. Some were the size of cities, armored in black metal and equipped with weapons so advanced the rest of the galaxy had banned them. These were the ships built during humanity's final years in the stars. Designed not to win wars, but to end them completely. Lieutenant Kara studied the movement patterns of possible enemies. She said, Sir, if the Council sent one scout, I'll send more. They won't stop unless we make them stop. No, Carter said. They never believed the stories. They'll want proof, Maxwell added. Would you like me to prepare a message to the Council? Something like, you were warned. Carter gave a faint smile. No, not yet. Let them come first. Let them see for themselves. Meanwhile, across Terran space, cloaked satellites watched every jump point, every small movement at the edges. Of alien-controlled territory, the system hadn't failed in 70 years. And now it was ready again. Terran AI drones, small but deadly, floated silently near borderlines, armed and invisible. Down in the crew quarters, young soldiers trained. Hand-to-hand combat, ran simulations, and practiced emergency drills. Many of them had never seen another species before. They were born after the silence. And all they knew was duty, honor, and the legend of why humans had disappeared to them. Captain Carter was more than a man, he was a living myth, a symbol of the old Earth days, and when he walked through the halls, the crew stood straighter, saluted faster, and listened more carefully. That night, as the artificial lights dimmed for rest cycle, Carter stood in the command deck alone, staring into the dark void outside the glass. He thought of Earth still protected behind a curtain of shields and cloaking systems. The home world was safe, but the galaxy had forgotten the cost of challenging humans. Now, with the first scout destroyed, the message was clear. Do not enter. But Carter knew the galaxy too well. They would not listen. They would test the silence. Again, and next time, the full weight of humanity's fury would rise. Not just one ship, but the entire Legacy Fleet. Humanity had not gone extinct. They had just gone silent, and now they were waking up. Piece by piece, ready to remind the stars who they truly were. In the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, chaos spread like fire. News of the missing scout ship Veltrax had reached every member species. Whispers filled the air, and fear began to grow deep inside their hearts. No one wanted to say it out loud, but they all knew what it meant. Humans were still out there, Alira. The young diplomat who had first suggested exploring the Terran zone stood quietly while the leaders shouted over one another. Some blamed her for the loss of the Veltrax. Others warned that sending another ship would lead to war. But Alira believed there was still a chance to make peace. "We must speak to them," she said firmly. "If they are alive, maybe they'll listen." Her words were ignored by many, but a few powerful members of the council agreed. A plan was made. They would send a new fleet, not just scouts, but a full diplomatic mission. If humans were hiding, they would come out to talk, and if not, then the council would be ready for anything. To lead the mission, they chose Commander Brax, a battle-hardened Centauri warrior known for his discipline and strength. He had fought in many wars and had never lost a fleet. "I don't believe in ghost stories," Brax told the council. "I will go, speak, and return. If they attack, we'll defend ourselves." The fleet prepared quickly. 6 war cruisers and dozens of drones formed the main group. Brax's command ship was the Valar Spire, tall, strong, and filled with weapons. Many believed this. Fleet was more than enough to handle a hidden human force, if such a thing even existed. As the fleet moved closer to the Terran zone, tension built. Ships remained in constant contact, watching every scanner. The stars ahead looked calm, but everyone felt something strange in the air, like a storm waiting to break. Finally, they crossed the border. At first, nothing happened. The space was quiet, too quiet. There were no signals, no defense systems, not even a warning. Brax became uneasy. He ordered all ships to hold position and scan every direction. Drones moved out in wide circles, searching for anything hidden. Then, the first ship vanished. The cruiser Tauran's Reach stopped responding. No damage was seen, no explosion, no distress signal, just silence. Within seconds, 2 more cruisers went dark. The Valar Spire picked up strange readings, energy spikes, like nothing in their records. Something powerful was attacking them, but they couldn't even see what it was. "Activate shields." Brax shouted, "Form tight defense. Ready all weapons." But it was already too late. One by one, the ships disappeared. Some were sliced apart by invisible weapons. Others pulled into gravitational traps. A few drones sent blurry images before going offline. Huge ships, dark and silent, moving like shadows. Then even the drones were gone. Only Brax's ship survived long enough to send out one final transmission to the Galactic Council. His voice was shaking. "This is not abandoned space," he said. "It is a trap." And then his signal ended. Back at the council, Alira listened to the broken message. Her face turned pale. The room went silent as the words repeated on the screen. "It is a trap," again and again. Some members wanted to launch a full war. Others said they must leave the Terran zone alone forever. Alira stood again, her voice calm but serious. "They are not attacking us outside their space," they warned. "US, we didn't listen." But not everyone agreed with her, in secret. Some of the Council's war factions began preparing their own fleets. They believed that humans were a threat too great to be ignored, and they wanted to strike before it was too late. Across the stars, fear spread faster than light. Merchant ships changed their routes to avoid Terran space. Pirate groups disbanded near the border. Entire planets started training for war. Just in case the old stories were true, back inside the Terran zone, the shadows of great warships moved. Again, unseen but watching, Captain Carter received the final message from Brax's fleet. He listened in silence. Then he turned to Kara and said, "Now they understand." Kara nodded. "Should we expect more?" "Yes," Carter replied. "They're proud. They'll try again. But next time, we won't just defend." He gave the order to raise security to level red. Maxwell, the AI, quietly activated new defense protocols. Hidden systems across the Terran zone powered up. Mines, traps. Weapons once considered too dangerous to use, they were now active. The message was clear now. Terran space was not empty. It was protected, and the galaxy had just paid the price for. Forgetting that truth, the command center of Horizon Dawn was quiet. The lights were low, screens glowing like distant stars. Captain Drew Carter stood still, his eyes fixed on the holographic map of Terran space. Red dots marked where the enemy fleet had disappeared. Each dot told the same story. Another ship gone, no survivors. Lieutenant Kara Jennings stood beside him. Her voice was low, but sharp. "We need to prepare for a second wave, Sir Captain." Carter gave a slow nod. "It's time," he said. Then he spoke two words that hadn't been said in decades. "Wake them," across hidden corners of space. In massive hangars buried inside asteroids. In cloaked dry docks orbiting dead moons, old ships began to stir. These were not normal warships. They were the Sentinel-class dreadnoughts, built during humanity's final years in the stars. Each one was as large as a city, heavily armored, and equipped with weapons that could destroy entire fleets. Some called them monsters, others called them guardians. To the galaxy, they were nightmares returned. Inside their dark hulls, nuclear cores lit up, magnetic drives hummed, and cold machines came to life. AI systems booted after years of deep sleep. Automated crews moved through corridors, checking systems, making sure everything still worked. These ships had not aged. They were built to wait, to sleep until called. Upon Maxwell, the AI of Horizon Dawn smiled as he watched the ancient data links reconnect. "The Sentinels are online," he said with pride. "They've missed us." One of the largest dreadnoughts, Iron Veil, rose from the shadows of a dead planet. Its weapon systems were already aimed outward. It had no crew-only AI. It needed none. Its mission was simple: eliminate anything that entered Terran space. Without permission, Carter watched the holograms. The fleet was no longer just a defense line. It was a wall of fire and steel. "Kara," he said. "Ready the sky grid?" Kara didn't hesitate. She opened a secure channel and entered the ancient code all across Terran space. Satellites hidden in deep space blinked to life. These weren't communication tools, they were weapons. High above planets and stars, ready to drop fire on anything foolish enough to invade. Each satellite carried black hole torpedoes, EMP fields, and sun lances weapons. The galaxy had banned long ago, but humans never forgot them. They kept them close. Just in case peace didn't last, Kara looked up from her screen. "Grid's hot," she said. "If they come again, we'll see them before they get close," Maxwell added, "and we'll erase them before they can even say hello." Carter's voice was calm but cold. No mercy. Meanwhile, the crew of Horizon Dawn moved fast. Officers checked weapons. Engineers calibrated shield arrays. Pilots ran flight drills, even though no one had flown in combat for decades. But none of them were slow or rusty. Every man and woman on board had trained for this day since birth. They knew the stories. They knew why they waited in silence. And now, the silence was ending. In the lower decks, giant cargo doors opened, revealing rows of Terran fighter ships, fast, sharp, built to cut through space like blades. These fighters were already loaded, fueled, and armed. Their pilots waited inside, ready for the order to launch across the Terran zone. Other human ships followed the same orders. The legacy fleet was waking up, not just to defend, but to show the galaxy what they still were. The last time humanity fought, they brought empires to their knees. This time, they didn't plan to fight. Long Illyra, far away on a diplomatic station outside Terran space, received word from her secret contact, an old trader who once did business with humans long ago. "They're awake," he said, his voice shaking. "And they're not happy, Illyra." Didn't speak. She stared out the window, her thoughts racing. She had wanted peace. But now she feared she had opened a door that could never be closed again. Back on Horizon Dawn, Captain Carter stood before his crew. Every screen, every speaker, every person on every ship in the Terran zone could hear him. His voice was steady, strong, filled with a weight only a human could carry. "For 70 years, we warned them," he said. "We gave them silence. We gave them peace. They didn't listen." He paused, letting the silence speak. "But now, we speak in the only language they understand. We are not invaders. We are the wall, and we are ready." A cheer erupted from the crew. A quiet fire burned in every heart. They were no longer ghosts, hiding in the dark. They were warriors again, and the galaxy would remember them not just for their strength, but for their patience, their silence, and the fury that waited behind it. The Galactic Council was angry, confused, and afraid. They had lost 2 fleets already, 1 scout ship and 1 powerful diplomatic armada. Their best commanders had disappeared, and their warships had turned to floating wrecks inside Terran space. Still, many council leaders refused to believe humans were truly that powerful. So they made a decision. They gathered the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. More than 300 warships from different species, each ship armed with the best weapons and shields. Massive carriers carried thousands of fighters, hundreds of cruisers lined up with destroyers and battleships. Alien admirals from 10 different empires stood together for the first time. They believed this time, they would not fail. The fleet moved forward slowly and carefully. Crossing into the edge of the Terran zone, everyone was tense. The silence ahead felt unnatural, like something was hiding just out of sight. Inside Horizon Dawn, Captain Carter watched the incoming ships. His face was calm, but his voice was hard, so they brought everyone. He said, "Good, let them see." Lieutenant Kara stood at her station, ready to activate the defense grid. Maxwell, the AI, was already calculating attack patterns and weak points in the alien fleet. He smiled faintly and said, "This will be short." Carter gave the order, "Let them enter." The alien fleet crossed deeper into Terran space. Still nothing happened, no shots fired. No messages sent, just silence. Then it began, suddenly. Several ships at the back of the alien formation shut down. Power lost, lights off, engines dead, before anyone could react. A black wave of electromagnetic pulses spread through the fleet. Hundreds of systems were shut down instantly. Drones spun out of control. Communication links failed. Panic spread fast. EMP nets deployed. Kara confirmed, effectiveness 70%. But that was just the beginning. High above the fleet, cloaked satellites opened fire. Giant lances of energy sliced through cruisers like they were made of paper. Plasma bombs rained down from hidden platforms. Some alien ships tried to fight back, but their weapons could not lock on to anything. The Terran defense grid was everywhere and nowhere. Then came the dreadnoughts. Massive ships moved out of the shadows, black and silent. They did not broadcast names. They gave no warnings. They just fired. One dreadnought launched a black hole torpedo. It hit a battle carrier and ripped it apart, sucking pieces into a small artificial singularity. Another released a sunlance, a weapon that fired concentrated star energy, melting armor and cutting through shields with ease. Within 17 minutes, half of the alien fleet was gone. The rest tried to escape, but the humans did not let them go easily. Small stealth fighters darted in and out. Targeting engines and escape pods, ships that tried to run were stopped by gravity mines or plasma nets. Only one escape pod made it out safely. It carried Alira. She had been on one of the observation cruisers, not meant for combat, when her ship was hit. She had been thrown into an emergency pod and launched before the explosion. The pod drifted for hours before being picked up by a Terran patrol ship. Alira thought she would be killed, but the patrol ship didn't harm her. Instead, it took her straight to Earth. On the way, she was shown a recording, a message made by Captain Carter himself. His voice was calm, but his words were sharp and clear. "We warned you," Carter said. "Your leaders ignored history. They thought silence was weakness. They thought peace was surrender. You forced our hand. You entered our home uninvited. You brought weapons, so we responded." The screen flashed images of alien fleets burning, ships turning into fireballs, pilots floating in space. Then Carter said one final thing. "Tell them we are still here. Tell them we are always watching." When Alira finally landed on Earth, she expected to see ruins or a dead world. But what she saw shocked her more than anything. Earth was alive. Its cities were hidden behind shields and holograms. The sky was clear. The land green, and people walked freely, laughing, working, training. It wasn't a planet of warriors. It was a world that had chosen silence and prepared for everything. Alira stood silently as humans welcomed her without anger, without fear. They simply said, "Now you know," and deep in the stars. The few ships that survived told the same story wherever they went. Humanity was not gone. They were more dangerous than ever, and they had sent a message written, not with words, but with fire, steel, and silence. Alira sat inside a smooth black transport ship as it entered Earth's atmosphere. She looked out the small window, expecting to see a ruined planet, burned cities, or old battle scars. After all, the galaxy believed Earth had been abandoned. But what she saw took her breath away. Below her were green forests, rivers flowing like silver threads, and cities shining with clean light. The skies were clear, and the air seemed pure. There were no ruined towers, no broken machines. Earth was alive. The transport landed quietly. Soldiers in black uniforms greeted her politely but firmly. No one pointed weapons, but the message was clear. She was a guest, not a prisoner. A young woman walked up to Alira and said, "Follow me. The captain is waiting." Alira was taken to a large building, modern and made of dark glass. It didn't look like a fortress, but she could feel the power inside it. Every corner had hidden security, and the walls felt like they could withstand a bomb. Still, the people inside smiled, moved calmly, and worked together like they were part of something greater. She was led into a private room where Captain Drew Carter waited. He was sitting in a chair by the window, looking out at a distant mountain. He didn't stand when she entered. He only nodded. "Welcome to Earth," he said. Alira sat down slowly, unsure what to say. I thought Earth was destroyed," she finally whispered. Carter smiled, but it was a sad smile. "That's what we wanted the galaxy to think." "Why?" she asked. "Why hide? Why let the galaxy believe you were gone?" Carter leaned forward, his hands resting on his knees. "Because we were tired," he said. "Tired of wars, tired of lies, tired of being used. We helped build peace. And every time, someone betrayed it, so we chose to walk away. But we didn't disappear. We prepared." Alira listened closely. The man's voice was calm, but his words carried the weight of years, pain, and cold decisions. She could feel that humanity hadn't given up on the stars. They had chosen to protect themselves in silence. Carter stood and walked toward a screen. He touched it, and it lit up, showing maps. Images of cities underground, training facilities, spaceports hidden under oceans. Thousands of humans were shown, young men and women training, building machines, studying stars, preparing. We live underground, under shields. Inside cloaks, he said, we taught our children everything about science, history, war, and peace. They grow up knowing what we lost and what we must protect. Illyra felt overwhelmed. You built a secret world, she said. You've been preparing for what? Another war. No, Carter said. We were preparing for survival. But now, the galaxy has forced our hand. They came into our space with guns. Fleets and arrogance. They forgot who we were. She nodded slowly. Remembering the fire, the destroyed fleets, the burning skies. You didn't strike first, she said quietly. You only responded. He looked her in the eyes. Exactly. Illyra stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the human city in the distance. Children played in parks. Farmers worked on high-tech fields. Families moved together, peaceful and strong. They don't look like soldiers, she said. They don't have to, Carter replied, because when the time comes, they already know what to do. Every human here is ready, not for conquest, but for defense. That's our way now. She turned back to him, her voice softer. Why did you spare me? Carter didn't answer right away. Then he said, because you tried to understand, you spoke for peace. You asked questions when others wanted war. That matters to us. A long silence passed between them. Then Carter added, you will go back, and you will tell them what you've seen. Not just the destruction, but the truth. Tell them Earth is not dead. Tell them we are not hiding. We are watching. Always. Illyra nodded slowly, her heart heavy. She had come looking for answers and had found something far deeper truth wrapped in silence. And power guided by wisdom. Before she left, Carter gave her a small data crystal. This is history, he said. Our story, from the day we left the stars until now. Show it to the council. Let them understand. Let them choose. As she boarded the transport that would take her back, Illyra took one last look at Earth. It wasn't a broken world, it was a fortress of hope. It had hidden itself to stay alive, and now the galaxy had seen what waited behind the curtain. Humanity was not gone. They had built a world without chains. And now that the curtain was lifted, the galaxy could no longer pretend they were just a memory. The news of the failed invasion spread faster than light across the galaxy. Every species heard the same terrifying story. The strongest combined fleet, more than 300 ships, was destroyed in less than 20 minutes. Only one escape pod returned, carrying Illyra and the message from the humans. At first, many didn't believe it. They thought it was an exaggeration. Some leaders said it was just a trap or some hidden technology. But when the video from Illyra's pod was shown, when they saw giant dreadnoughts tearing warships apart, and when they heard Captain Carter's calm voice saying, "We are always watching," no one could deny it anymore. The Galactic Council met again. This time, there was no shouting, no arguing, just silence. Heavy and cold, the leaders of many races looked at each other with fear in their eyes. They had ignored the warnings. Now they had paid the price. Some members of the council resigned that very day. They didn't want to be part of the next mistake. Others spoke quietly about surrender or apology. A few whispered even darker thoughts, plans for revenge. But no one dared to enter Terran space again. The council officially declared the Terran zone as untouchable, a forbidden area that no species must enter. Star maps were updated, warning signs placed, and all routes that crossed near human space were closed. Ships were told to stay away. Even merchant vessels and explorers. Fear gripped the galaxy. Races who once thought they were powerful now felt weak. Empires that ruled whole sectors began to pull back. They didn't want to draw human attention. Criminal gangs, pirates, and warlords near the Terran zone disappeared, most likely destroyed by tearing patrol drones before they could even notice. Trade changed, politics shifted. Trust between council species began to break. Some suspected others of secretly working with humans. Old enemies blamed each other for waking the sleeping giant. The unity of the Galactic Council started to crumble. Piece by piece, on smaller planets, teachers began to tell a new lesson. In schools, children were warned never to go near human space. Stories of the fire in the sky, of warships that moved like shadows, and of humans who smiled without speaking, these stories became the new bedtime warnings. But not all planets felt fear. Some felt respect. Some remembered that humans were not only warriors, but builders, explorers, and protectors. A few dared to hope that maybe one day humans would speak again. Not with weapons, but with words. But no one wanted to be the first to test that hope. Meanwhile, in Terran space, everything returned to silence. Captain Drew Carter stood on the bridge of Horizon Dawn, watching the border. Ships were still on patrol. The dreadnoughts still cloaked and ready, but for now, there was no threat. The enemy had been warned, and they were listening. Lieutenant Kara joined him. "It's quiet again," she said. Carter nodded. "They finally understand. Do we keep hiding?" "No," Carter said. "We remain quiet, but we let them see just enough, just our shadows." And so it was done. The humans didn't send out warnings. They didn't threaten the galaxy. They simply kept watching, from satellites hidden in asteroid fields to stealth drones near Council borders. They listened, observed, and waited. Earth's leaders knew that peace bought by fear was not true peace. But for now, it was enough. They had shown the galaxy that silence did not mean weakness, that humans had not disappeared. They had simply decided to live on their own terms. Captain Carter walked through the halls of the ship. Crew members saluted with quiet pride. Everyone knew the message had been sent and received. Humanity didn't need to conquer planets or rule systems. They were the warning. They were the memory that would stay forever in the minds of every species in the stars, and no one would dare forget them again.